Transdemic podcast, you are back. It means you are loving us. Thank you for coming back to the podcast. And before we get this week started, I'll just keep a brief, real brief rundown of who we have on the show. We have Chloe here, who is a trans woman based down there in the South. We thought it'd be an interesting perspective. Bentley is friends with her and they know each other. So that's where the recommendation come from. Awesome conversation. You'll get this perspective. And I think we should start, I don't know, I don't have a ton to say. It's all the same things going on every week. There's crazy shit in regards to trans people going on in the country. There was a win, however, and this happens in Atlanta. Transgender high school students must be granted access to bathrooms that correspond with their gender identity. The federal appeals court in Atlanta ruled. That's awesome. Anytime we get a win like that, we will announce it here. Plenty of work to do, and I'm just going to get into this conversation with Bentley, and Chloe. I don't know. What do you say? Now?
Sweet. So y'all haven't met, right?
No,
we have not
at all.
Oh, sweet. Well, this is Chloe. We toured together in Europe, and then this is Kris. Kris is in Moody Black, and she's awesome. So, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you. Thank you guys for asking me to do this.
Hell yeah.
Of course. So I was gonna let Bentley kind of guide it a bit. Usually they're just conversations. Really, I mean, I'll have a little bit to bring up. I usually just look up things that have happened, like, you know, trans-centered things that have happened over the week since we last talked. But I know Bentley has some ideas that he wanted to discuss with you about. I think what you had mentioned is coming up trans in the South, which has got to be interesting. So Bentley,
Yeah.
do you want to go ahead and just kind of just start taking the reins on this, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we'll start with this. So just so everybody listening knows, what are your pronouns, Chloe?
My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah, so I basically just wanted to ask you, like, you've lived in the South your whole life, right?
Yep, East Tennessee, born and raised the entirety of my life.
You just want to, like, tell us about how that was and how it changed since you came out, and if you had any, was it, like, hard to get hormones, or was that, like, not hard? Yeah, just, like, tell me all about it.
Sure. Well, you know, like, growing up, everyone knows, like, the stereotypes about, like, the South, and it's, like, not very tolerant. And so, I don't know, like, being young and growing up, and I, like, moved around, like, a whole lot. So, like, sometimes it's like I was born in Knoxville, but I spent, like, a lot of my time living in some, like, more rural like areas and stuff, and a lot of back and forth. So it's like, even going in between, like, out in the sticks and, like, in the city, like, it was still pretty consistent. I don't know. It's just, there wasn't a lot of diversity. But I remember growing up, and, like, my family, like, experienced, like, problems with pill addiction, like, while I was growing up a lot. And I remember here in Knoxville, they had, like, a clinic for it. I think it was just a methadone clinic even back then.
Mm-hmm.
But they were going to the methadone clinic. I remember one time my dad came in, and him and my mom were talking, and they kept saying, like, my dad was, like, giggling, and my mom was like, stop that. And we're like, what's up with that? And my dad was talking about how there was a girl there, but that it was a guy. And I was like, what do you mean? And he just kept, like, saying, like, it and the she, he a lot. And so I remember, like, that was, like, not the best, like, early engagement, because I remember being, like, really confused about, like, why, you know, it was, like, a negative thing, or there was, like, a joke for some reason. It's like a joke that you don't get.
How old were you at that time?
Let me see. I want to say that I was probably, like, 9.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, yeah, like 9 or 10, I want to say. Because I remember, to tie along to that, was, like, shortly thereafter was when I remember, like, wanting to wear my mom's clothes and stuff, like a lot of like young like trans women do. Like, you know, you explore like yeah, you explore like your close like female like families undergarments and stuff. And I just like always thought my mom was so beautiful and everything. And I remember, yeah, I was like wearing her stuff and I was just like hanging out in my room, you know, being a kid, like 9, 10 years old, just chilling. And like my dad and my older brother like kicked open the door, and there was like a camera, but it didn't have film in it. It was like one of those old click cameras and stuff. And so, but they kicked open the door and they like started like taking pictures and like pointing and laughing and being like, look at the sissy and shit like that. And it was,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it took me a long time to be able to tell people that without like really being very overwhelmed with emotions, because that was the first time that a lot of things started to piece together for me about how this is shameful, or it's like, you can't do this because you will get this negative reaction.
Yeah.
And it was like super, super strange, because then, yeah, you know, like when you're growing up into like middle school, I was just like your common like little boy and shit. And I was like trying to be, you know, what my dad wanted me to be. I tried to play football and all that stuff and just be one of the guys and just try to like fit in. And I don't know. And just like hearing like how people talked about other people, it was like super like homophobic stuff and yeah, and then transphobic and like racist too, not to mention racist, like especially in the town I grew up in during that time in Clinton, Tennessee, which was like a nice like middle class like country area, you know, but it was like predominantly white. And so
Oof. What was the population there, or ish?
I mean, probably it definitely was not more than like 8,000 probably.
Oh my gosh.
It was like a super small town. I remember like being like growing up, because my mom like left my dad about that time, and so, you know, it was just me and my mom, and I, you know, didn't have any friends, and so I would like skateboard and like listen to punk music, and I'd go walk around town and skate around town, and just, it was like a cool town to get into. And I did make like lifelong friends and everything, because it was like I spent like 8th grade and then through high school living in that area, and I made a lot of friends. But
nice.
Yeah, and I remember that's like when I started to come out to like other people about like at the time like what I thought was just cross-dressing, because I still did not even understand like what transgender was or meant.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you like what was the point of like when you came out as cross-dressing, and then when was the point when you realized you were trans?
And do you even really come out? Because, you know, I had the same situation, like identical situation. Do you even come out as a cross-dresser, or is it just something that you were just kind of doing, you know, like I had to in secret, and then having all these mixtures of like shame and all this stuff going on?
Oh yeah, no, totally, 100% that. I mean, you know, you try to like understand it as you get older, and especially like in high school, like when you're really like already kind of confused and you have all these like sexual desires coming up and things you're trying to explore. And I remember thinking like, I'm like, I have to stop doing this. It's like, because I'm never going to get a girlfriend, and I'm never going to lose my virginity, and my life will just be over. And I remember my mom went out of town for like a weekend or something, and it was just me at the house. And I was like,
so fun.
Yeah, definitely. But this time around, I got really depressed. And so I like cleansed my stuff, you know, I like went to the barbecue pit and I like opened it up, and I threw all my clothes in there, and I like set it on fire, and I was like, I'm not going to do this, you know. And
I did the same thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was like super, super dramatic. I mean, honestly, like in a true woman's fashion, it's like I couldn't just like throw them away in the trash can like a normal person. It's like, no, set it on fire. If I can't wear it, no one will ever wear it again.
Oh my god!
I chose to cut mine up. I was like, I cut it up. I don't know what the cutting was about, but
also very dramatic. I think it's always just about the drama, because it feels like, because it is, you know, it's like you're trying to get rid of something that at the time you don't understand is this type of monster inside of you that's like, no, I'm coming. It's like you think you can stop this.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like happening no matter what you do. But yeah, I don't know. To answer your question though about when I guess that it stopped becoming like cross-dressing and started being like trans, was like, I remember I dated this cis girl for like a long time, like 5 years or something like that. And she knew that I like to like wear women's clothes and that it was something that I really, really liked. And which I guess is suspicious when you're with someone for so long. And she would just be like, so do you ever feel like maybe, you know, that maybe you want to be a girl? And I'm like,
oh
what?
wow!
I'm like, no, me? Well, you know, no, you know, and I kept disregarding it. And I don't know, because I was at the time being like in my early 20s and stuff, I was super lost and I wasn't playing like music and everything. And so I was just like trying to work all the time. And I was trying to be this, like the perfect man for this girl, because I thought that that's what happiness was going to be.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're brainwashed in America to be taught, is like me, I was raised Christian and stuff, and I'm taught you're celibate until you get married to some perfect man, and then he like takes care of you and you just shut up and like do their laundry and stuff. So like I can totally see like the opposite side of that and why you would think that.
Yeah, it's like you want to be, it's like my dad was always just like, and really many other people in your life are just like, you are going to be like the provider, you know, it's like you got to carry all of this burden, you know, the silent burden in your life. And like, that's just a part of, and you don't be vulnerable, you know, and it's like, that's awful.
I was just laughing because it's so funny because I watch a lot of like documentaries and like and they're always like based in the South, like those Last Chance U, like the football ones, and it's always like the fucking South dads that I just find hilarious because it's always about being a provider, and it's all like, I don't know why, I just think it's hilarious because these dudes are just they're so about that life, about God and like, you know, holding down all this like shit that's totally problematic, and it just reminded me of that. But go ahead, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please interject, because otherwise I'll run out of like things, because eventually we're just going to get to where we are now, which is just me being the bad person that I am today. But no,
it relates so much to everything you're saying is so similar to what happened with me and my story. So I'm enjoying listening to it, and I feel like I'm right there with you on everything you've been talking about. It's kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh! And then I honestly feel somewhat sorry for you because
it is hard.
It's such a crazy thing to look back on, you know. But we can get to those thoughts. But yeah, ultimately to the Mega coming out, like, I don't know, she and I, it was like a really toxic relationship. Even though the glowing fact is, I came out from the relationship and realized like who I was. But when we broke up, I remember it felt like this was going to be like the last time ever. And so I got on Craigslist, and RIP Craigslist personals. That shit, that helped me through my beginning stages. But I don't know, I like hooked up with a random guy, and it was the first time I ever left the safety of like my home or a bedroom, like dressed and presenting as a woman. Wow. And I went out into public, and that was like, what a rush, you know? Like, you keep thinking in the back of your head, like, the people see through you. It's like, you feel like, you're like, is this like wrong? It's like, are people going to see like a man right now? It's like, am I going to be made fun of again? Am I going to be ridiculed? And I remember interacting with people and just definitely not trying to fucking like talk or anything like that. Do not open your mouth. Is all. I'm just like you're a delicate thing. You don't even need to speak to these people. But I remember feeling like received as a woman, like by the public, as really like eye-openingly good. Not just because of like the BS like society like gender roles, like men like opening doors for you. But I will say it is a great feeling when you immediately notice how many times people will open the door for you. And that's pretty awesome. I always like that.
That's so funny because for me, until I started tea and stuff, and I wasn't like quote unquote passing, which I still don't like 100%, but like that would upset me. So it's funny to hear the opposite.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Like, I don't need the fucking door. I can open the door for myself. So that's funny to hear like the complete opposite of that.
I know. It's just so funny that people view things like in that way at all. It's just like sometimes I just want to offer, like, you see like someone at the grocery store and they like have a bunch of stuff and you want to like go help them. But it's like if you try to go and approach a man and just be like, you want me to help you carry like this cat litter or something or this dog food? It's like, no,
Yeah.
I got it. Don't you worry. And then it's like you hear this awful grunt come out of him, and then it's like, dude, your pride's carrying that bag.
There was something like really telling that you just mentioned. We just kind of didn't. You might not have thought about it, but I thought about it was like the nuance of, because you mentioned it's not about being received as a woman in public, all that. It's not like, it's hard to explain to people. I get it right away when you said, oh, it's not about gender roles. It's not about gender roles. It's like there's this like innate, I can't explain it, like this innate, I guess like validation or euphoria you get from something like that. That's not about like perceived gender roles. It's not about being treated like a lady per se, but it's just like, I don't know. It's like this validation, this feeling that you get when you're received in those ways that just makes sense or just feels right. And it's hard to explain that to cis people or people that don't have that experience.
Yeah, I think it's like a really strange way to get validation. It's like I work at a dollar store right now with the pandemic going on, and I gotta like just interact with people, I guess. But it makes me feel really good when I see when there's girls that come in and then they come and ask me for like help with like hair or like makeup or like just like advice about that stuff, even though I don't really know anything about that stuff at all, because I like rarely even brush my hair, which is what I tell these poor girls. I'm like, I'll tell you what I think, but I wear the same makeup every day.
Yeah. And that's got to be different for you, because normally like pre-pandemic and after the pandemic, whenever the fuck it goes away, like you work in a kitchen, so you're not really normally interacting with that many people at your job, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, I guess like when I do interact with people at the bar, it feels like a very different type of setting, because you work in that same kind of industry.
Yeah.
And so it's just strange now because I really don't like working with the public in general because I'm really a nice person. I want to think that I'm a nice person and that I'm.
Yeah, I think you're really nice. I toured Europe with you, and we met each other. We met each other in Europe, by the way. We met at the airport. So
yeah, first time ever that we ever meet, and it's just, and plus, oh my god, that within itself is a whole thing. Me and Eric have been thinking a lot about that stuff since
I miss it so
basically
much.
Like a year ago, I guess, almost.
Yeah, and my drum set's still over there. It's fucking sad. But yeah, I guess my next question for you would be, because I wasn't like complete. I mean, I was out to y'all, but I wasn't like completely out online and stuff yet. Which it's kind of funny because one thing we do have in common is I was in a relationship that was toxic, and then after that relationship finally ended, that's when I came out and like became myself too, and now I'm like super happily single. But your experience in Europe is you were like completely out and everything, and I remember all the questions you were dealing with the whole time. I think most people there just assumed I was like a weird lesbian or something. I don't know, but like you dealt with so many questions every day, and like, is that normal for you, or was that more of a European thing? Because I know the culture is so different over there.
Yeah, I definitely. I don't know. It's like, it was so strange. And I know that we talked about it over there, but it was like strange how much we didn't see a lot of other queer people the whole time we were over there. And we were playing in like these, you know, it made me feel safe. Like I felt safe in like pretty much, I'm pretty sure I felt safe everywhere.
Yeah, but I felt fine, but yeah, there was like no queer people like at all.
Yeah, same.
Strange.
When I play,
and I remember,
really,
it's like, you remember the Leo, the Russian, and
he pissed me off so much.
I know, and it's just like, it was hard for me too, and I was like trying just to have some patience, I guess. You know, I try to really be patient with people, especially just like battling trans issues and people engaging with me as a trans person, and I'm like trying to be a good representative. It's fucked that we even have to feel like that, but I'm in a good place, you know what I mean? It's like I have a good support system, and my family didn't abandon me or anything like that, so I feel strong enough to have someone refer to me as the transgender, and I'm like, yep, thank you. It's like, I guess this is like a good thing.
Can we explain that to the podcast? Like what happened? Because it was multiple times. It was like basically it was like a Russian drunk dude. And if you want to tell the rest, it was like you. But
well, I do remember. I just want to say that my first interaction with Leo was when we were hanging out in that little back room, green room area, all hanging out, you know, just enjoying it, vibing, and then we just hear this loud drunk person, and he comes in there and he's just jabbering on about how he's from Siberia and he's Russian and he wants to see the Americans. And then he brings us that vodka, and he's like, this was made in my home in Siberia, and now we drink. And he had on like this USSR like Soviet Russia shirt. Yeah, it was so crazy. And he was like intoxicated through most of it,
even through the next day.
Yeah, it was crazy, honestly. Yeah, it was. And what's funny too is, you know, me and Eric, we still sometimes get phone calls from him.
Oh my god.
He'll call us from Germany, and he'll just be drunk and he'll just be rambling. But he's, you know, that's why I want to feel like our experience was a positive one, because I know that he really had a poor outlook on Americans beforehand, and then he met us. And so I hope that was eye-opening for him. And I hope, like, talking to me about and talking to you about it, like, that he at least can learn a little bit more. It definitely was not a battle that we could win, but
oh, totally, yeah. And he was just like yelling, like he would just be like trans, and it was like, oh my god, what the?
Oh
fuck?
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. See, it's like sometimes I just forget about those things because I'm just like, yep, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, so. I was so pissed, and I feel like I just wasn't in a good place mentally on that tour because I was dating an evil human, just one of the most evil people I've ever met in my life. But
I tried to tell you that.
I know. Everybody did. Even Chloe and Eric. I met Chloe and Eric in Europe, and they were trying to tell me that. But yeah, so I wasn't in like the best place. So I feel like now I would have handled it a lot better. But I still, I mean, I wasn't a dick or anything. I was just like, God, you're pissing me off because it was towards you, Chloe. Not if it was towards me, I could have handled it a lot better. But when other people are being like, per se, like bullied, I get so like protective, and I just want to like protect everybody. You know what I mean? But like,
I think in Europe, it's funny for me too, because I think in Europe, like there's so many different types of cultures and people there, but it's the same shit. Like it's just like you deal with more questions. It almost seems like over there they're still in the nuanced area of like the shit is still funny to them, and then as a musician or artist, at least for me anyway, I feel more like I'm treated like a spectacle, than at all like respected for the gender stuff. So it's weird because then they feel like, it feels like it gives them permission to ask you fucked up shit. Like they look at you a little bit differently than like a human being in a lot of ways.
And I think it was always like shocking for some people because I am definitely blessed enough to pass pretty well in public.
Yeah.
And it's, once again, it's just to say it, it's like, man, that is just so messed up that people even have to feel that way, where it's just like, you have to pass to feel somewhat safe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so messed up. But yeah, I think that it's just always a shock for some people because they really are expecting your average girl. And I'm just like, hey, how you doing? My name's Chloe. I like playing punk rock really, really fast.
Yeah, and you're a badass, so that's fun.
That's the other side, I guess, of it too. It's like, because a lot of trans people maybe that are listening have the desire to pass, to be able to have some of that privilege. But then I guess on the back end, there's situations can happen where your safety can be in question in different ways when something comes out, or you get somebody like that might be instigating or antagonizing.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like such a frontline thing every day. And especially like now, I don't know, like I don't try to hide a lot of who I am as a trans person. It's like I just got the big transgender symbol tattooed on my arm, like right in the middle of my arm, big as fuck. Because I want people to see, because I want them to know like who they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that's like, you are going to treat me with respect. And hopefully they just will think twice, And I feel like I'm generally pretty lucky. But then again, who knows all the awful things that people say as soon as they like walk away from you,
Something I wanted to explore real quick, just to take you back to what you had mentioned. When you're growing up, or you've gotten to the point, we mentioned that you were like 20 and then you come out, or 20 something. But then I want to know a little bit more about how that, because you had the teasing going on with like, you said brother and dad. How did that progress? Like, did that teasing continue? Oh. What was mom's role in that? And like, and did she buffer that?
No, yeah. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing me back in, because I really will just kind of go off. But yeah, I don't know. So like once I came out, I don't know, like that whole period of like when I came out, it was so strange. I never had like I know I see people on social media all the time post, and they're like, 12 years ago today, I like came out and blah, blah, blah. That never really happened to me. It's like after I went out and I had sex with a man for the first time and was out in public as a woman, I realized, I really liked this and I wanted to explore this feeling more. And so I had told my friend who was staying with me at the apartment that I had, that I was eventually going to lose. I was like, hey, I'm going to be like girl sometimes. And then like sometimes I'm probably like going to be guy. So I just want you to know that. And my friend, I had known him since like middle school, and he's like, that's cool. That's fine. He knew that I like to like wear women's clothes and stuff like that. So that wasn't, most of my friends knew that about me.
That's awesome.
It got out in high school. But so it just didn't take very long. That it was basically like 2 days of me kind of being androgynous. And then I was like, yeah, no, we're going just like full girl, because this whole guy thing is just not for me. It turns out. Same. But yeah, when I told my mom, I really hate RuPaul. I just want to say that.
Me too.
I'm not a RuPaul fan, but my mom was watching a lot of RuPaul about the time that I came out. My mom was like really okay with like what gay people and stuff, and she was pretty progressive. My mom was, and so I knew coming out to her would be pretty easy, because I basically just sat down and I was like, hey, so I am going to be like a girl, like all the time. And it's like, and this is going to be my name. And this is like for real. And she was just like, okay. She's like, you know, I love you no matter what. And it was,
Wow.
I love my mom. Yeah, I really
Awesome.
big shout out to my mom, because she is she's like everything to me. She's been so supportive. No matter what I do, no matter how stupid it is, she's always had my back. But yeah, so coming out to her was easy. Now, funny thing about my dad, my dad actually died from liver failure, like cirrhosis, when I was like 13.
Mm.
So luckily, I never even had to deal with having to tell him.
Mm.
But I can honestly say, knowing how my dad was, because like my brother is 9 years older than me. And I remember when he was growing up, he was mega goth, like way back in the day, 90s goth, you know, with like black lipstick and like the trench coat, and he had like long, like black ponytail and shit like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, listen to like Bauhaus and shit like that.
The parallels continue. It's my brother all over again.
I know, it's great, honestly. But my dad would like mock at him, you know. He'd like use like gay slurs at him and stuff and think it was funny. So I would imagine if I like would have came to my dad and been like, plus the day that I probably would have came out to him and been like, hey, I'm quitting the football team to join the show choir, he probably would have been like, you ain't no son of mine.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's like, you gonna go prance around in there? And it's just like, yep, Dad, I sure am. But yeah, so my brother, he was like someone I was super worried about, like knowing. But my brother is constantly battling different drug addictions, and especially at that time, he was like really, I don't know. It's like you never knew where he was particularly. Not that, I don't know, not that he was traveling very far. It's just like he was just off in his own little drug world, you know, that he lives in. And I was staying with my mom because I had lost my apartment that I had at the time. And so I was going through my beginning stages of transitioning without a job, without a home, living at my mom's house. So, you know, it's all glamorous when you transition. And one day I was just chilling at the house, and I'm all girled up, and I'm like hanging out. And I hear a knock at the door, and I go and I open the door, and it's my brother. And he does not know at all. And he just sees me, and he's like, hey, what's up? And he just comes in, and I'm like, what? You know, and we never say anything about it. And like, he's like hanging out for a few days at my mom's house and stuff, and it's all, you know, gravy. No one's talking about it. Elephant in the room. And so we go down to the local gas station, and we go inside, and me and my brother, we do have a pretty good relationship, like a good back and forth, even if I like hate the decisions that he makes with his life. But we're shooting the shit, and he kept referring to me as his bro, like over and over again, which is something he's done with pride for years. You know what I mean? My brother has always shown that he loves me. And so when we got in the car and we're starting to drive back, I'm like, hey, so you know how you were like saying bro in there a lot? I'm like, I know I haven't really like said anything about this, but I'm like, this is like not ever going to go away. And so I don't really want you to say that anymore. It's like, I'm like your sister now. And so he just looks at me and he's just like, okay, sis. And it was like awesome. I mean, you know, it makes me feel a little emotional because it was just so chill for me to have my family just be like totally 100% like supportive. And like the dead naming, it didn't take them long, you know?
Wow. And growing up in such a small town and everything, that's amazing.
I would like to think that, you know, like my mom and my brother both like really, really, really loved punk rock. And I'm not just trying to be like, well, punk rock is progressive, because there's clearly some conservative punkers, even though that's an oxymoron. But, you know, I don't know. I want to feel like they have always wanted to think differently than everyone else around them. You know, it's like, I remember growing up as a kid, and my mom, and, you know, in the South, everything's about God. and hell, and you better get saved, because if you're not saved, then you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my mom and dad, and my dad was very religious and stuff. But when I talked to my mom about it, I was like, Mom, do you believe in God? And my mom was like, I do not believe in God. And I'm like, Mom, why? You're going to burn in hell. And she was like, and no diss out there for anyone that, all face, whatever makes you want to be a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, but my mom, she was like, I just don't see how there could be something that would like let all the pain and suffering in the world like happen. She's like, it's like, how could something exist and just like let that happen? Which is one of the many reasons that a lot of people say that stuff. But yeah, so that's generally how well it turned out with my family for coming out.
That's amazing. So in the South, is it hard to get your hands on hormones? Do you have to see a therapist for a while? Are there laws in Tennessee that make it hard? Is there gatekeeping?
That's really, really like a good question. And I feel really bad because my experience with it, because I was super afraid to take hormones when I was first transitioning, because, I knew it was a big step.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal. I was terrified. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very normal when you're like, do I want to take these pills that are going to change my body forever?
Yeah.
Let's make sure we want to really back this horse. And so I spent like my first 1.5 to 2 years like presenting feminine, like as a woman, and living and working as a woman. Basically, when I transitioned, I never ever went back. Like, I never had a job where people called me by a different name or saw me as someone different. And I basically moved town and got like a whole new set of friends. So it was almost like my life as Chloe just like started over, It was like starting a new life. It was crazy. But yeah, when I finally decided to do hormones, I had a great, like, I don't know. I also did not meet my first trans like friend until I worked at Walmart when I first transitioned. That was my first job as a trans person. Was also shout out Walmart. They're a corporate beast, but they really made me feel super comfortable.
Wow.
Being like a trans worker, and I never felt uncomfortable, and they went out of their way to make sure that people called me by the right name and used the right pronouns. So
damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, so if any scared like trans people out there, it's like you can always work at Walmart and they'll back you up, even if it's kind of a crap job. But yeah, anyways, I met a girl through one of the coworkers there, because he was like, hey, I have a cousin and she's like you, and I think that you guys would hit it off. And I'm like, sure. And so I met Olivia, and she was like my first trans person, and the first person I ever talked to that understood anything like what I had felt my entire life. And it was insane, like to feel that connection with someone that like you really are not alone with how you feel about yourself and the reflection that you're trying to create. But anyways, to get back to the point, my friend Juniper, she had told me that I should go to Planned Parenthood, because for some reason, I'm pretty sure that it's only Knoxville and Nashville Planned Parenthoods that will do hormone therapy for trans people. And I basically just set an appointment, and I walked in, and they talked to me about the medication, and they're like, are you aware that it does this? And are you okay with this? And like, they asked me personal questions, like how long had I been out, and like what my life was like, if I felt safe, and just generalized questions that most doctors, I guess, just want to ask you. But they prescribed me hormones just like right then and there. Gave me Spiro and estrogen.
Crazy.
No questions asked. No, nothing. It was crazy. Because I thought for sure, like when I was reading online, I think in other parts of Tennessee, you have to go to a therapist for like a year.
Yeah.
Like it's either 6 months or a year, and you got to have a referral from them. to like go somewhere.
Yeah, that's wild, because here in Arizona, none of the Planned Parenthoods they don't even do hormones if you have a letter anymore. They just don't do hormones in Arizona.
That's crazy.
We're super red. Like, it's funny because like southern states get like the conservative like stamp, but like Arizona is beyond conservative too, even though it's like I don't know, we have some kind of weird mirror. I don't know. No one like thinks of Arizona as that, at least from my experience. But yeah, so that's cool that you can get them at least a couple Planned Parenthoods there.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to point people in that direction. The one thing I will say though is that I kind of do wish, because I've known some people that were like exploring like gender and stuff, and they started hormones like pretty quickly. And I know for some people that's just like how they do it, but I don't know. Like for me, because all I can ever think about is just what it was like for me. I was just like, how can you like jump so quickly like that? So maybe I do think it's good sometimes for some people to either like wait or like maybe talk about it some more. But yeah. I can also understand just being like, no, this is what I want and I want to do it, and go. And I can appreciate that.
Totally. Yeah. And everyone has such a different experience with like their timeline. Like me, I was out to Kris. I think Kris is one of the first people I told, and
Crazy.
That was years ago. I think that was like when you came out, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm horrible at time stuff, but yeah, I think it was around then.
Yeah, so like there's certain people I've been out to for like years and years, and then to the public it's been less than a year. So to a lot of people, I'm sure it looks like I just like jumped on the hormone train, but like I had literally just been waiting to come out to my family to start them, and I just didn't know how to come out to them. Anyone else, I didn't give a fuck. I was like, if you're my friend, you'll like stick around, and if you don't, you don't. But like my family was the one thing holding me back. So I can see how some people could be like, whoa, like you're not gonna take some time to think. But like I did my thinking. I've seen a therapist and all that stuff. So I totally get what you're saying, how some people might rush into it.
You needed that insurance from your family.
Yes, I did.
That's the real reason.
I mean, like you gotta get the approval. But you know, it really did make me just feel super good. Like last year, you know, I remember we were like in Europe and we were having like all these talks about your gender identity and like what your plans were about it and like all these thoughts and stuff. And I was just so pumped when I finally got to see like your coming out posts on social media. And it just makes like stuff like that, when you just see someone get to burst open and not be able to, and like not have to hide anymore. And you're just like, dude, that is such a freeing experience. And I'm like so happy for them. Like, that's so good.
I know, I'm always stoked when I see that. Or today I saw one of my friends, their name is legally changed and stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's so like heartwarming to see all that. Like any step, it's like to see someone more comfortable in their own body and their own experience here on earth. It's just so beautiful.
I know, just like being able just to be, I don't know. I just remember just feeling so miserable. You know, we're all trans here. We all know what that's like to feel just locked up inside, and then just really confused on like why you're so sad.
Yeah.
You finally can just like burst, and you're just like, holy crap. You're like, life is pretty awesome. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm cute. What? I thought I was ugly. It's like,
True.
Who knew I was actually this really super hot bitch? I had no idea.
Well, it changes. It does. It changes. It changes a lot of things, like just doing mundane shit in your daily life that you're depressed about doing. That you're just more vibrant and willing to go do things. It's weird. It's like you're right. Like you have this, the lid is taken off, and you get to like actually enjoy life like everyone else for once. Well, I don't know if everybody really enjoys life, but you know.
well, I'm sure there's at least moments.
Yeah, I'm still massively fucked up and depressed at times, so it doesn't get rid of everything.
Yeah, I had to stop taking hormones because I'm having surgery on the 19th. So like you can't.
Oh, did you stop that already?
Yeah, you can't take hormones for. I normally do a shot on Saturday, so I had to skip last Saturday. So I've been off of them for like a week now, and or technically 2 weeks because I did my shot like 2.5 weeks ago. And normally I do it every week, but you can't take them before surgery. So I just feel so different and I can't wait to get back on them. Like, I feel like my voice is higher and like my body feels weird. And it just like the
withdrawals that you get from like not taking your hormones, even if it is just mental, I don't even know. But like,
yeah, right.
I've had long periods where like I've not been able to take hormones. I'm pretty sure the Europe thing that happened where it's like I only had like
half a pill or something because you were running out.
Yeah, I was like cutting my dosage and stuff down. And I remember just like by the end of it, I just like felt, especially like the conditions that we were in, because we didn't always have, I don't know, we didn't always know where we were going to be and stuff. So like my face, like I would just get so much facial hair. And I personally just have never been a fan of facial hair at all. And so just looking scruffy the whole time. Sometimes I like it, but I like to keep my face clean.
Yeah, for sure. That was a weird. Some of those hostile bathrooms and stuff were strange. And then when the venues let us sleep over, sometimes there wasn't like a mirror. So I totally get that.
There's never any fucking soap. Have you noticed that out there? I always notice like I'd use the bathroom and there's no fucking soap, and I'm like, no one here is using soap because there's no soap.
Yeah, we bring soap with us in the van on tour because a lot of the times the venues, at least in the States for sure, they don't have soap, so we just bring our own now.
Which is so crazy to think about, but it's just like, I guess that's punk rock. I don't know.
Well, there's people that say that you just need water. That's like legit. Like people are like, oh, you just use water and it works. But I don't know about that.
The people that say that, I want to know the research that they have.
Oh my god.
That just would kind of gross me out. But I do remember putting on eyeliner and like broken mirrors in some of those like really shoddy venues that we played at. And it's times like that where I'm just like, to some people this may seem kind of shitty, but to me, this is like really fucking cool.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, ultimately, it just makes me sad. I've just been really bummed out to like not tour and
same. I'm losing my mind. We had to cancel 150 shows that were booked.
That's all.
They were all booked, and then luckily, you say that's all, but luckily I didn't book October, November, or December yet. I just had an outline. So I
knew it. I knew that was a small number for Snowmate.
Yeah, no, I'm just fucking glad. But it sucks because the Japanese tour we were on is still happening. We just aren't allowed to go to Japan right now because our country sucks. But like the other band is still going on the tour.
Oh, that's that doubles down on the suckiness.
Yeah,
that's crazy. They're getting to do shows over there.
Yeah, not only, but like I mean, in comparison, they had I think 900 deaths in Japan, and they never had a lockdown.
I'm seeing shows happening here though in the States now.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I guess it's just
I don't know if that's good
of anyone going on a tour. You know what I mean? Like at least in the communities that I'm in.
Yeah, the only reason tonight we're playing a show, but it's at a drive-in movie theater. And
yeah, is that streaming?
I'm gonna stream it if it's not on my phone, but it's gonna be playing through like everyone's radio in their car, and no one's allowed to leave the car.
See, look, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then we're not.
I think that there are ways to do it. It's like I see people doing like outside shows and stuff and promoting, distance but God, it's not the same. It's like I want the sweaty bodies up in my face spitting on me. I want the blood on the ground.
I know. I want the nasty like basement where you have to dodge the water droplets and the leaks.
When you're like putting your amps down, you're just like, I'm pretty sure that's black mold right there.
Yeah.
It's like, hell yes, this is going to be a good show.
Exactly.
Well, and at this point, so we're caught up now to like kind of what's going on. And after, all the stuff that we talked about being trans in the South and all that, do you ever think now, like they're out and you're whatever, you're doing your thing. Do you ever consider the fact that you come from a place that or have you noticed that you come from a place that people perceive or think is more challenging to come from as a trans person? Do you ever think about that, and do you feel those ways as well?
I guess even like from touring and stuff, I don't know. It's so strange that I think it's just because at face value, I just pass. And so
Yeah.
I don't ever get a lot of confrontation from people, but I don't know. It's just like the stuff that you hear people say, or the ways that they just like are processing the information. It's like, okay, so good example is I have a coworker that I work with, and she's got like 2 grandmas, you know, and she's like, she's, you know, she's mixed and everything too. And so, you know, I know that she gets diversity and that these challenges that society can have with you and stuff. And so she talks to me about trans stuff, at least a lot at the beginning. And this will kind of sum up why maybe she doesn't talk to me about it so much anymore. Mm-hmm. But she would always just, like, you try to explain things to people when you feel comfortable with them, when they ask you like basic questions like the surgery, when are you going to have the surgery? It's like, do you like your penis? Like, how do you have sex? Like, how do you,
all that shit.
Yeah. You know, all that great stuff. And you try to just explain in the best way of like what it is. And it's like when she fires back a question, she shows like, it's like half understanding about it. It's like when I talk to her about my girlfriend, I'm like, I date like a trans girl and I also date a cis woman too. And
that's awesome.
Look, you just gotta share your love, you know. That's how I feel. I love everyone. But my partner that lives in Huntsville, the trans woman, she came up and she spent like a couple days with me, and I was super stoked because I hadn't seen her because of the quarantine, and I hadn't seen her in months, and we were going to go on tour together that I had to cancel right before the pandemic really popped off. And we were, you know, we had plans to see each other, and I was so let down, and so was she. But we hang out, and I'm telling my coworker, because she's asking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I had a great time, you know, and this and that. And then when she was asking me about the integrity of my girlfriend, basically, she's like, so when you say like a trans woman, you mean like she was a man? Goodness. And I'm like, dude, yeah. And you're like, dude, why? Don't say that. It's like, no, she is a woman. She has always been a woman. She is my girlfriend. And yes, she happens to have a penis, but that literally has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
But you're just like trying to drive this point home. And I don't know. And it's like, I've heard my other coworkers say things, even just in reference to me. Like I tried to play Warzone with a guy coworker, and he's introducing me to his buddies on Xbox, and he's like, all right, y'all, you know, this is Chloe, and she's my coworker, and just say, you know, she's trans. She's and she's a transgender is what he said, that's just such a term. I want that tattooed on me, honestly.
with the ED, right? Transgender.
Yeah, transgender.
The best.
Because it's past tense. I've already transgenderfied myself. Oh God. But yeah, anyways, but when he was explaining this to his friend, it's like she is a girl that wants to be a boy. And I'm like, dude, what? It's like, how are you missing this? And I know he doesn't mean it that way, but it's like, it just goes to show you like how backwards people are to perceive it. It can't just be you interact with someone and say you're uncertain about it, and they make it very clear to you. It's like, my name is Chloe. It's like, I like to be called like she and her, you know, I'm a girl. And it's like, oh, okay, this person is a girl. They are called Chloe and they like to be called this way. Check. Done. But instead in their minds, they're just like, oh, so wait. It's like, what you're saying, you were a dude. So you're kind of a dude though, but like you just want to be a girl. And it's just like, I have no problems with that. That's cool with me. And it's just like frustrating. I don't know.
I hate that part too, where they get to that point, because it's like, then it's like, no, you're not understanding. Like and I can't bridge this gap at that point. Like it's hard to get people that think like that to really understand it.
No, definitely. And I don't know. And I think that maybe that's probably not a unique thing to the South. I just think that the biggest difference probably with being like a trans person from the South, comparisons to many other places, is that you probably are just more likely to meet people that know more about the subject. Because I literally had no clue what transgender was until I was like 25, you know, and I met another trans person. I did not know that if you felt like a girl, but you had once been a man, that was called being like transgendered. Like I had no idea about that, you know, but that's what's cool about, you know, growing up now and seeing like how, one, I know it's probably scary for like younger kids, but it's got to be exciting too, because at least they have, I feel like there's a lot more information about it and people talk about it more. There's more ways to communicate. I was just going into like Yahoo chat rooms and trying to talk to these cross-dressing like men, you know.
Same. It was horrible. In hindsight, it's like it was so weird.
Not to get just lying about your age. You're just like, yeah, I'm 18. But now, will you tell me your secrets? Like, so, like, is this okay? And it's just like, well, my wife doesn't know. And it's like, oh, I guess that's how this is supposed to go down. I guess that's how this works now. I mean, honestly, it's like terrifying. Like, I just wish that I just would have known, because I would feel like I would have been a lot happier so much sooner if I just would have, like, there was only one gay person at my school and they were like ridiculed heavily, like for it. It was like insane. But it's weird to me, like how much you can see how comfortable guys can be, like cisgendered guys, like in wearing like women's clothes and showing these like effeminate like things dubbed by society like these womanly gestures, and that they can do these things and feel comfortable, but they're like, yes, this is like a joke. And I'm just like, how much are they just relating that? Like, or is this like, I don't know. It's like, how much do they relate that to how they really feel? Or is it just like a mask because they're just like really confused, and maybe this is kind of like a really freeing experience for them in a way.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so layered.
It's part of the journey for sure, figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, who knows like where some of those people go, you know? I remember one of the first people I was hooking up with when I came out, it was like a dude that, like a cross-dresser dude, and he was like I remember he was like an ambulance driver or something, but we hooked up like 2 or 3 times, and he was married, but his wife like knew about it and was cool with it. And he like, you know, like passed pretty well and was really into like these qualities. And I remember just thinking like, well, you know, why do you feel like you like want to be like a woman? And it just seems like maybe it just seems like such an impossibility for some people.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what makes it sad for me, because he still likes my photos like to this day. And I wonder from his perspective, like to see me go from being like a borderline cross-dresser to like this full-on like woman in the span of like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's an interesting point. Yeah. Cause we've been able to have that freedom to kind of develop, because it is that I always considered or always thought that about, not all of them. I think there are probably people that are just into dressing up or whatever for whatever reason, but I do think a large part of them might be trans and just unable to get to that point within themselves, or feel like they have the permission, or they're in too deep and they have families and kids. Like I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine being married and having kids and having to like lay that down. Sounds terrifying.
I'm honestly like, I have a friend in town and she's like a trans woman, and she's got a young son, you know, that's like old enough to kind of get like what's going on. But and honestly, I view her as a really strong, like, trans person in my community, because she's very, she really throws away gender norms sometimes, but it's so beautiful at the same time. So it's really crazy. But she talks about her son a lot and, like, loving him and explaining these things to him. And it's like, he gets that, like, his dad is, like, a woman, but that's, like, still his dad, and that's, like, okay. And it's like, Audrey is, like, cool with that fact. It's like, interesting. So I feel like that's what the world probably needs to understand more of, is what it is like for potentially a cisgendered child to be raised by, like, a trans woman, Yeah. It's like, see how that kid turns out, like.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be loved and accepted more than most kids.
Well, yeah, and you're going to get to have, like, a lot of really cool talks with your mom, about all kinds of things, about life and relationships. And I'm sure that, like, she's going to do a great job. She's, like, such a caring person anyways, that I know her kid's going to be such a badass. But it definitely is interesting. Me, personally, though, I don't want no kid. I'm not even... Personally, I feel like kids are, like... It's like they're like little enemies, like in video games, where if there's enough of them, they could destroy you. Because when I have to deal with kids in public, they're either going to be, like, kind of sweet, or they're going to, like, destroy me by just, like, looking at their mom and just being like, is that a girl or a boy? And I'm just
welcome
like,
to my
ouch. Kid, shut up, kid.
That happened to me the other day when I was hiking, this little kid, and I was like, what? I thought, like, I don't know.
Kids fucking say it out loud, too.
Yeah, this girl said it out loud, and her dad shut it down real quick, though. He was like, we don't say that. And that was, like, the end. Awesome. That was it. So I was like...
That's fucking tight, though. That's always, I think, a good thing, is when you get to see how the parents react to kids asking or saying, like, those things.
Yeah, I was like, dang, dude, good job.
You just want to, like, give him, like, that nod of, like, good job, Dad.
Right.
You get an ally sticker today. It's just like, you just stop and you're like, wait, sir, let me give you this.
Here's a sticker.
Here's your sticker. Go tell your friends that you're trans certified.
Right.
Finley has plenty of stickers. I'm sure you'd have one that could apply for that.
I'm sure I do.
I have a shit ton of Snailmate stickers all in my house.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I mailed you that whole pack, though. To Danielle. I mailed her all the whole fucking...
I know. It just sucks because I want to put, like, that bathroom one. The one that says, like, a trans person peed here and it didn't kill you or whatever.
Yeah.
I've been, like, saving that in my purse.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm like, there's going to be a bar or, like, a situation where it's, like, filled with, like, bigotry.
I can mail you more, too. I'm sure you could use... I can mail more.
I'm sure you could. I guess I just always, like, have that feeling, like, with stickers when you get one and you're just like, okay, what am I going to do with you?
Yeah.
Like, you are the one, but where are you going to go?
Exactly. I have a pile of those where it's like, I'm just waiting. I have no idea. I just know nothing has come up yet.
I just have boxes of merch, honestly. It's like patches. I have, like, a box full of patches, and I just don't even know what to do with them because I don't have, like, a vest or anything cool like the punkers have.
Same.
I get patches all the fucking time.
Same here.
Like, yeah, that's like $3. Yeah, man, I'll buy that.
Exactly. Well, if anyone's listening this far, and they want to send me a message, I'll mail you some free trans P stickers. So
that's awesome.
What a plug.
It's a good point to sit back and just if you want to just wrap up, like, like an overall message and if anybody has anything else to say, I think there was a lot of great shit in here. I would listen to this podcast because, like I said, it's hard to find consistent trans you think there'd be a lot because there's a lot more awareness, but they're just kind of few and far between. So I hope that there's somebody out there that hears this and it resonates with them. I know it did with me with a lot of stuff, but does anybody have anything else that they want to close with, or anything you want to plug, or any, I know you got some band stuff going on, so anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So once again, I'm Chloe Daniels from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I am so gay and I'm so trans and it's so great, and I dip and I don't give a shit about anything and you shouldn't either. And I play in 2 bands. I play in a punk band called Bad Idols, and you can check us out on Spotify and Facebook. I also play in a folk punk band called Burnt Toast. We have a new album coming out in a couple months. You can also check us out on Facebook and everything. And I sing lots of songs about being gay and being a sad girl. And if you like that stuff, then check it out.
When is your music video coming out?
So I don't have an official date, but sometime in September.
Oh,
in September, the music video will be released, and
Perfect.
It will be so grand.
I'm so excited.
It was super cool. But yeah, thank you guys again for having me on, and I hope that this was good for you guys as it was for me.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you so much for doing this, too. And I'll be sharing it on Reddit and all that stuff, and I'll give you the link when it's up.
Yeah, tight. And,
Thanks. It was nice meeting you, too. I know it's always awkward to meet somebody through Skype and talk about personal shit for the first time we talk.
It's okay. One day I'll come to your town, and I'll sing songs for you.
Come on down to Minneapolis. I'm sure. Have you probably been here plenty of times?
Minneapolis? I actually don't know that I have.
No? Yeah, you got to get out here.
Yeah, I don't know, because we always play. We do Iowa a lot because we have a lot of friends in Iowa. And
Iowa's close enough.
That'd be sweet if we could both, if Snailmate could be up there and we could all 3 play together.
Please, like, honestly, I'm just itching for us to play together again anyways. Like,
I'm going to buy a Bad Idol shirt when, after I pay for my surgery, too. I want that tank top.
Yeah, big same. I feel bad because I've seen, like, all the stuff that you've been, like, pushing for. But, like, I've been trying to, like, dish out, like, all this money for, like, new Burnt Toast merch, and because I want this album release to be, like, super special. I've been really, I don't know. Burnt Toast has never released something that we've actually worked super, super hard on before.
Well, I'm very excited.
Like, a lot of time and money into this. But I'm glad that everything's been going so well, though. I'm super happy for you to see you, like, just progressing so well and you being, like, the person that you want to be. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, cool. I guess we could wrap it there, and
And we will wrap it there. I think the end of conversations on podcasts are always the most awkward. Like, you don't want to stop talking. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. I hope you got something out of this conversation today. So many parallels with myself and Chloe, and just coming up as a trans woman and trying to make sense of things. It's awesome that we have the language, the resources, and the ability to talk to each other about these things, because we didn't know how to deal with things. And to a large extent, we still don't know how to deal with things. On a daily life deal, we still don't know how to deal with things. I hope you guys join us again. Y'all, join us again next week on Transdemic. We'll hit you with a new episode, maybe a new guest, answering your listener questions. You never know. Send in those questions, like, subscribe, share, talk, have conversations with your friends. If you're an ally, continue to be a good ally. Thank you very much. If you're trans, you need anything, always email us. Main email, moodyblack@gmail.com. Email us. You ever need anything, find us. Instagram, Bentley's on Instagram. You can look up Snailmate and then find Bentley. Bentley has his own page, his own YouTube. Go check us all out, all over the place. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Chloe for being on. We'll see you next week on the Transdemic.